Hi, I'm Jonathan Banks, Executive Automotive Analyst at NADA Used Car Guide at this year's Orlando Convention. I'd like to talk about the used car market and NADA's prediction for 2013. There are 5 factors that we think will keep used car prices at historically high levels. Let's start with the Fed policy of low interest rates. We expect interest rates to remain low during the remainder of 2013. And importantly, we'll see lending open up to many more buyers than we saw in 2012, which, by the way, was a fantastic year. Subprime lending will be key in driving new vehicle sales and keeping prices high for both new and used, and demand for both markets strong. The recovery in housing is another important factor. 2013, we're seeing housing pricings actually improve. And that recovery in housing is important for a couple different reasons. Unemployment will improve in sectors that has shown very little recovery, namely construction and manufacturing. And secondly, these buyers will come in and start demanding new pickup trucks and new SUVs, which are really prevalent in those industries. We are also looking at a situation where employment will gradually improve overall. Now, what that will do is bring in a lot of consumers at the lower end of the employment spectrum that really that slow recovery hasn't impacted them yet. Now, those buyers are probably the ones that are driving the high vehicle age that we're dealing with in 2013, which is around 11 years old. Now, those buyers likely will come into the market to get their replacement vehicle in the used market, keeping used vehicle demand very strong. Now, on the supply side, we're going to see a different dynamic than we did in 2012. Now, although the overall used supply will be down by about 3%, what we're going to see is an increased supply from rental fleet and leasing. Leasing especially will increase. We expect used supply for 3-year-old vehicles to increase by about 14%. This is a good thing, actually, for dealers who struggled to get inventory in 2012 for these off-lease models. Better availability for the 3-year-old and younger models in the used car market means better availability for CPO models, which means more choices for consumers in the used car marketplace. Now, one thing that will occur with new vehicle sales increasing and forecast somewhere between 15 and 15.5 million units, what we expect is to see some shift from the used car buyer over to the new. Now, that being said, overall what we do expect to occur is we expect demand for both markets to improve. What we'll likely see is better improvement, or quicker improvement at least, in the new car market, but a much better used car market as well. As they say, a rising tide, which is our economy, raises all boats. And we think we're going to see that both for the new and used markets. So when considering all these factors together, what does NADA expect for prices to be in 2013? And remember, what we're dealing with right now, the prices through 2012 were up about 1.2%. But what that means from that trough from 2008 to the present, prices are up 32% compared to the low point in 2008. We expect that to hold, with prices only falling about 1% towards the end of the year. And we also expect to see normal seasonality, which we didn't see in 2012, where it was a much more precarious equilibrium, where any fluctuation in supply or demand drove prices up or down, depending on what kind of impact it had on the market. We expect to see a much more stable market in 2013, with seasonal patterns that really, from a historical standard, follow the norm.